Okay, we're rolling. All right, good evening, everyone. Hope you are all well. Again, thank you for joining us on a Friday, not a normal day. So we have an interesting topic to talk about this evening. That is how to use Bitcoin. It is a very broad discussion, a bit too broad, frankly. I got it out of my depth very, very fast here. And it can become very, very detailed. So I'm going to try and keep out of the weeds as much as possible and just keep us nice, lighthearted, and practical. I may have gone too far anyways, but I will try. So most of us here, I'm fairly certain, believe in what hard money can do for the world and its fundamental ideals, sound money, self-sovereignty, privacy, all that. But practically, how do we use this technology to actually enact our vision of this better world? The devil is in the details. So the space has gone through a lot of growing pains for a long time, and there will still be more to come. I think, however, it's quite important for Bitcoin to actually go through this. There is a theory out there that in order for Bitcoin to be a secure store of value, it must also be a good and practical medium of exchange. And I think this is a valid argument. And this is kind of what I wanted to talk about today, or at least try and touch on. Again, I'm going to try and not make this very technical. My objective tonight is to rather give you all a nice broad overview, like a map, on ways that you can use Bitcoin and its ecosystems that are formed around it, so that you can better understand it and leverage it to your own means. Bitcoin isn't just Bitcoin. There's like a lot more to it, actually. So by the end of this, we're also going to have a nice demonstration. Hopefully, I'll have you all send and receive sats to each other, but I'll tell you about that more in the end. I also somewhat jokingly called this the 2025 June review, because this is all changing so fast. This is just a snapshot in time of what's happening right now. The demonstration we want to do later didn't exist a year and a half ago. This is all moving very, very fast, but it's worthwhile, I think, discussing and seeing where we are always. That being said, I'd also like to make a bit of a disclaimer. This topic is a highly subjective one. A lot of what I'm going to talk about depends on you, the person who is actually using the Bitcoin. It depends on where you are in life, how technically savvy you are, where you are financially. There are a lot of things that go into this. It's very, very subjective. So you may disagree with some of the things I say, and that's completely fine. I'm just saying them so that you know how you could use Bitcoin, not how you must use Bitcoin. That's up to you. This is an open and permissionless system. If you want to send transactions via carrier pigeon because you think it's the safest, you can do that. Not very practical, but you can do it. That's the beauty of it, right? Okay, so in order for you to do you, though, you kind of have to know all these things. So I'm going to get right into it. The topics I'm going to go through, as a starting point, I'm going to talk about some grounding truths first, just things that we need to keep in mind as we go through this. They're going to help us guide actually how to think. Second, I'm going to run through some popular services in using Bitcoin. Broad, definitely not the be-all and end-all. Third, we're going to do a simple overview of the different layers of Bitcoin that you need to be aware of, and how they came to be, their own benefits, their risks, and why you might want to use them. And lastly, we're going to do a nice live demonstration and show the easiest way currently to actually transact in Bitcoin, small amounts of Bitcoin. Everyone good? Here we go. Okay, so grounding truths. First, to make sure we're all on the same page, we need to be very aware that, of course, like I mentioned, Bitcoin is permissionless. Anyone can do whatever they want to on it. The only thing that is governed in Bitcoin is consensus, and that's the rules that require you to enter your transaction into the blockchain. So permissionless, open, anyone can do what they want to. You can make your own fork, you can do your own thing, all of that. This means that anyone can create new and innovative ways to actually interact with the network, so long as they follow the consensus rules. And even if they don't, you can have forks, and that's a whole different topic. Because of the openness of the system, people have developed things that we call layers, different ways to interact with the Bitcoin ecosystem with varying trade-offs. So trade-off is going to be an important topic this evening, because life is only trade-offs. There are no solutions. Every single thing we do, it's going to have some sort of repercussion, whether it be a good or a bad one. So if there's one thing I want you all to remember about tonight, it's just that there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. Everything about this, there's always a positive and a negative to it. And last but not least, Bitcoin is responsibility. That's why we're here. Fundamentally, that's what this is all about, your own decisions. You need to control your own money and be responsible for it. Some of these layers are going to sound great, but whatever sounds too good to be true normally is. You're responsible to use them wisely. And this is just the unfortunate trade-off of having financial freedom. It's financial responsibility. All right, so keep those points in the back of your mind because they're all going to come up a number of times ahead. So really, really broadly, I wanted just to throw out there some ideas of how you could use Bitcoin practically nowadays. So there are hosts of services out there that are willing to accept your Bitcoin as collateral for loans. Services like this over here. Can you see my mouse? No, you can't. Let's see if I do this. Now you can see it. This is a website called ledin.io. You can actually deposit your Bitcoin on there and get a fiat-backed loan. It's, different rates. It's all very new still, but this is the thing that we can do today. There are other services like Strike, Salt Lending, Unchained, and a whole bunch more. You can, of course, pay for online services as well. ProtonMail is a pretty big one. Domain names, VPN providers. There are a lot, and I didn't want to go through all of them, but just be aware that many services do offer it. And for anyone that doesn't, there is something that's called Bitrefill. There are a couple of these providers as well, but what Bitrefill does is they'll take your Bitcoin and give you a gift voucher, which is great because nobody is the wiser. You're just using a gift voucher to top up your, Amazon account, use some DoorDash, do whatever you need to. This changes depending on the country. Like in Cayman, the most practical one I could find is you can get a Flow or a Digicel top-up gift card. That's cool, right? But it's not a lot. There are some other ones like online products, flights, hotel gift cards, but it's not a lot. So that's just here in Cayman, where we're very much behind the curve in terms of crypto, so far as I understand. But in the US, there are a host of options for you to explore like this. Even in South Africa, where I'm from, there's a lot. The next thing I'd like to talk about is, let's say you actually want to support your own local business. BTC Maps is a fantastic way to do that. What they do is it uses an open source map system and actually pin drops places around you that accept Bitcoin as payment, or yes, generally Bitcoin, yeah. It's a fantastic way to actually support local people that aren't necessarily putting money into advertising, but just want to support the ecosystem. They're all over the world. They've got thousands and thousands of different types of stores. They're growing consistently. You can find things like ATMs, merchants shops, hardware stores, clothing shops, restaurants, hotels, Airbnbs, services, hairdressers, gyms, the list just goes on. Whatever you want to sell as a service or product, you pop it on here, you can find a lot of like-minded people. So if you want to actually use your Bitcoin, BTC Maps is a great way to actually just to see what's going on near you and use it. As an example, here in Cayman, we have Awesome Productions. Shout out. So there aren't too many over here, but you can see there are a few that actually accept. And I think that there are more that just haven't been added to the map yet. So we can actually see that Awesome Productions over here accepts Bitcoin and Lightning, not NFC yet. So this is a nice example of a place here in Cayman, our little tiny island, that is now showing that they're actually able to do this and willing to accept it as payment for a service or product. Now, this is a nice segue into our next topic. We've spoken a little bit about actual services that you can use, just very broadly. There are many, many more out there. This is by no means an extensive list. But what's Lightning? Who knows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Yeah, kind of. Okay. So Lightning is a layer, really, of Bitcoin. And this is where we now need to start talking about layers. So like we mentioned, Bitcoin is open and permissionless. It means people can do things, anything they want on it, as long as they adhere to consensus. And layers allow us to swap, the word I'm looking for was, I can't remember now, swap pros and cons, really. So there are 4 main ones that I want to go through. 4 of the most common and prominent ones. There are a host more. Not everyone. Many people are trying to launch their own layers with their own pros and cons. But these are the 4 ones that are currently biggest in the space. we of course have the main chain, Bitcoin. It's its own layer, right? It is the foundation that everything is built upon. It is I'll get to that in a second. The next one, which I want to talk about, is liquid Bitcoin. It is a peg to the Bitcoin blockchain, but it itself is its own blockchain. It's just Bitcoin with more bells and whistles. That's all it really is, if in a very, very simple form. The next one to chat about briefly is Lightning. Lightning is a layer on top of Bitcoin that we'll go through in a moment. And the new kid in the block, eCash. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with eCash. How many? Cool. That's what our practicals, there you go, we got one, yeah. That's what our practical is going to be about in the end. There are some serious trade-offs with it we need to be very aware of, but it is very, very nice for onboarding and testing out. Okay, so like I said, there are many more than just these four. Cool, coming in. There are many more than just these four, but we'll concentrate on these for tonight. Now, I want to reiterate again, I'm going to go very broadly over these. I'm going to miss a lot of important details. And if you are actually going to use any one of these, please do your own research. Don't take my word for it. So you need to understand the true pros and cons, the trade-offs that you're actually going to give when using these different protocols. Okay, so first let's just start off with the basics. Bitcoin as we know it. So how do we use real Bitcoin, the true Bitcoin on the blockchain? In its most boiled down version possible, Bitcoin is just a ledger. That's it. It's a ledger on the internet that everyone keeps track of. Okay, just a big, global, open, permissionless public ledger. So it uses things like proof of work, consensus, blockchain, all these fancy words just to make this solid and secure. That's all we're doing. We're just adding transactions to a ledger. Okay, but how do we use this ledger? So there's a nice visualization. Ledger, Alice sends to Alice from Bob and 1 Bitcoin. That's all that actually is involved in a ledger, right? This thing just starts at some point, the Genesis block, the first block ever created, and it continues downwards. Every 10 minutes, more transactions being added to this ledger. There are 2 people involved in a transaction, the sender and the receiver, right? How this works is that if you, the recipient, want to receive some Bitcoin, you need to send an address to the sender. It's a very complicated looking list of numbers and letters, or you just send them a QR code. This is like an address, like a postbox number. The sender takes this and sends the transaction of the sender sending the recipient Bitcoin into the ledger. Once it's in there, you're done. That's it. That is the simplest form that explains what a Bitcoin transaction is on the base chain. Once it's in the ledger, which is a separate story, it's set in stone. It won't move again. Obviously, there's much more that happens, but this is just what you need to know right now. Specifically, that the sender does the transaction. The sender broadcasts the transaction to the network is really what happens. The common services that do this, these are wallets, Sparrow Wallet, Blue Wallet, Strike. They're different depending on what you want to do, how custodial do you want it to be, how self-sovereign do you want to be. It's a separate story. All right. Now, knowing this, what are the pros and cons? Very quickly. It's really secure. It's about as secure as you can get for a digital currency. It's very reliable. The network, to my knowledge, has never ever gone down. And censorship resistant. That also goes in there, by the way. Nobody can actually stop you from sending a transaction. It is open and verifiable. Everything is open source. All right? And the system is not easy to change. It moves really slowly. I'm not talking about blocks. I'm talking about development. The system doesn't change quickly, which means it's really stable. It's very secure. It's easy to trust. However, there are cons to this. It's slow. It takes 10 minutes or longer to get a transaction in, depending on how much you're willing to pay as well. Speaking of that, it can be expensive, especially in peak times. Transactions are not private by default. We don't actually send to names of people, like in the example I gave earlier, but if you were to tell somebody your address, they can see it. This is all open. It's on the internet for everyone to see. And it's not easy to change. That works on both sides. So, there is one more thing to mention though. Not everyone can use Bitcoin's main chain. This is one of the main reasons to actually have layers right now. The Let me just make sure I find this. Yeah, it's the unfortunate truth that as of the current design right now, the Bitcoin main chain cannot be used by everyone. This is mostly because the block space is limited. This is part of the reason why transactions are slow and become expensive, but it's what gives Bitcoin its own security. So this creates this market essentially for paying to be in the next block, to paying to have your transaction included in this global ledger. But let's make an example. How limited are we actually talking about? Imagine each person needs to transact once per week, okay? And a Bitcoin block can take 4,000 transactions, which is an average. How many people could the chain actually accommodate? Any guesses? 2%. 2% in the world. What's 2% of 8 billion? Too much. Sorry, yeah?
I mean, you said that you can take just 400 something.
Oh, just 4,000 transactions in a block. So a block goes through every 10 minutes, which means we can do a certain amount of time in a week, but it isn't much. It's actually only 4 million people. Only 4 million people can actually use the blockchain every week if they make one transaction a week. That's really little, right? That's the size of LA. So this is far under the 8 billion people in the world that we want to reach with this technology. So we need to be very aware that not everyone can actually use this ideal money, essentially. So it's easy to see that space on the main chain itself is a commodity. It's actually something that's valuable on its own, not even just the Bitcoin. And besides that, waiting for 10 minutes to an hour to confirm for a $5 cup of coffee you want to pay for in the morning, it's not very practical, right? If you're trying to buy a house, by all means, you can take your time. You can ensure that the transaction goes through. So layers provide ways to change these pros and cons. That's what we're going to look at now. Okay, so now Liquid. Liquid is a side chain of the Bitcoin blockchain. So we know a blockchain is like block, block, block with all the transactions in it. Liquid runs parallel to that. It's got its own blocks. It does its own thing. Its blocks are slightly faster. Its blocks are slightly smaller. It works the exact same way, though. It's just a ledger of transactions, but with some more bells and whistles. So exact same way we use. The recipient sends an address to the sender puts it onto the public blockchain. There is no proof of work like Bitcoin. We rather trust a federation of people, which is part of the cons of this. We're not relying on this trustless system. We are trusting people, and that's something important to be aware of. Some providers that do this is Aqua and Jade, just for reference. But here are the true things you need to know about the pros and cons. You have faster transactions. A transaction is confirmed every 2 minutes on the Liquid network. Blocks happen every 1 minute, but in 2 minutes it's confirmed. They're very cheap currently, but they may not always be. They're actually private. The amount that you send is always visible on the Bitcoin blockchain, but in Liquid, nobody can see it besides yourself, which is super useful. It's, again, open and verifiable. All this code is completely open for anybody to see. Okay, the cons. You need to trust 16 verified entities located around the world. That's as clean cut as it gets. There are lots of mitigations put in place. These people are checked and verified, and everything is done by the book, but you're still trusting 16 entities with control of your money. So we need to be very, very conscious of this. It is not a scaling solution. Liquid Bitcoin is a blockchain, just like Bitcoin is. Once that gets full, we're going to have the same problem. So right now, it's just a nifty side chain that we can do different things with, which is useful, but we need to be aware of its limitations. So you have a question?
Well, you might talk about it, but you said it's a different blockchain. Does that mean that there's nodes that...
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't work on the same network. It's very, very different, but it's pegged. I can't explain how.
So it has its own network with its own nodes?
Own network, own nodes, yeah. It's a very separate beast altogether. Okay, the next, one of the more prominent one, layer 2s, so this is built on top of Bitcoin. This is not a blockchain. This is now utilizing the blockchain to make transactions easier. The Lightning Network is regarded as Bitcoin's main layer 2 trustless solution. How it works is this. Okay, I put computers because there were too many people on my slides. So nodes control funds. Imagine if I give a string to you, okay? We close the string, we put 5 beads in the string. If I have all the beads, I can send you the beads. That can count as a transaction. But it's only between us two. I can send all my beads, and then I'm out of money. This is what's called a Lightning channel. So all you need to know is that these channels exist between nodes in a network that allows you to exchange money between each other very, very quickly and efficiently. So how it works is that, again, you've got a recipient who needs to send an address to a sender. All right? This is just a visualization of what the Lightning node network can look like. So you've got nodes all over the place, and you can see they aren't connected to every single person. Each of these lines are channels.
And it's cheaper, right?
It's much cheaper, yeah. That's one of the pros of it, right? So these channels exist, but let's say this over here is the sender's node, and that over there is the recipient's node. Now you aren't directly connected. You need to shift beads from one side to the other. So you find a route like this through the network, and you pay fees between the nodes to actually make this transaction final. This is all directly linked to the main blockchain, which means you still have all the trustlessness of the Bitcoin blockchain itself. But you've transacted value now very, very cheaply. Okay, some common providers, Wallet of Satoshi, very custodial. Phoenix, much better. Zeus, super self-custodial. Okay, pros and cons. Very fast. These things happen in seconds. Great, much better for buying coffee in the morning, right? Very good privacy. It's actually very hard to know who sent you money in Lightning. You just know you received a payment. You can include information, obviously, but it's pretty hard to do. They're very cheap. So transactions cost much, much less. They are charged as a percentage of how much you send, unlike on the Bitcoin blockchain, but they're by far cheaper. Say again? So if you send $100, you might get like a point-something% charged via the nodes.
With a fixed rate.
This is a fixed rate, yeah, sure.
Rate.
Exactly, yeah. But it's much, much cheaper than on the main blockchain where it could have cost $1, $5, and taken you hours to send. So these are major, major pros. And again, open, verifiable. All of this is super by the book. You can go and do this if you want to. I mean, I can't. I'm sure most of us can't. But it's there. It's in the open. Okay, the cons. There are 2 ways to do Lightning. Either self-custodially, or on your own, or through a custodian. It is technically very difficult. I haven't managed to get it right. So technically difficult to do by yourself. And if you can't do that, you've got to trust somebody else with your funds, which is not fantastic, right? So this is a con that we need to be aware of. If you're doing it self-custodially, it can be costly. The way that Lightning works is that you kind of both hold each other accountable. So if one of you cheats and tries to like add a bead or move a bead without anybody else knowing, you're able to settle the dispute on chain, which can be expensive and costly. Okay, eCash. This is a fun one to actually talk about. This is the new kid in the block, like I said, and it's not the same as Bitcoin, nor Bitcoin, nor Liquid, nor Lightning. It's slightly different.
I thought eCash was old.
The technology is old, yes. How it works, like Bitcoin is based on multiple technologies put together, right? eCash, its technology is also pretty ancient. Well, I mean, ancient. It's probably like invented in the 90s, wasn't it? Somewhere around there. Right. I think the official name is Chow Mein eCash or something like that. So yeah, you're right. The technology is old, but the implementation and the protocol is new. So that's what we're talking about now. Okay, so this is quite fundamentally different. There is no ledger. There's no beads. There's no ledger. There are only tokens. This is like actually dealing with coins in a wallet or paper notes. How it works is this. Imagine you're at a theme park. You've gone to Disneyland, let's say. Now, as you go into Disneyland, you walk in with your dollars in your pocket, but Disneyland's rides and ice cream and restaurants and shops don't accept dollars, they accept Disney tokens. So as you walk into the theme park, you go past the toll booth, just a booth, and you say, okay, here's $100, give me tokens. And the booth gives you tokens. Now you go into the park, and you're chilling around in the park, paying for rides, paying for ice cream, doing everything, using these tokens, and it works completely fine because everyone accepts the tokens inside the park. Okay, you've had a great day at the park, you want to leave, but you have some tokens left over. You go back to the booth, you say, hey booth, here are my 10 tokens left over, give me my dollars back. Okay, here's $10 back. And off you go. That is how eCash works, except for one small change. There's no glass on the booth. They can't see who you are. They can't see how much you've gone in or out. They can't see anything. They're just there exchanging tokens for dollars, dollars for tokens. So that is eCash. Keep that in your mind. The tokens are called cashew tokens, technically. The booth where you exchange this is called a mint. You effectively, when you go into the theme park, trust the theme park that they're not going to run away with your $100 while you're in there, right? The exact same applies for a mint. So whenever you're in the theme park, if a sender wants to give some tokens to a receiver, they just give it. It's as easy as that. We've been talking about how recipients need to send addresses, senders need to send to ledgers. It's kind of complicated, but this is as easy as it could be. You're giving a piece of information to somebody else, and that is the money itself. Or at least, it's actually paper money. It's not true Bitcoin. This is effectively what fiat is today. This is now worth that value if you trust the mint. Okay, so that's the idea. Any questions on that? I hope that was easy.
So this and the one previous are not other networks with nodes. These are just software that works on top of the Bitcoin layer?
So, you mean Lightning previous?
Yeah, yeah.
So Lightning very much has its own nodes as well.
Oh, wow.
So there are Lightning nodes, there are Bitcoin nodes, there are Liquid nodes.
Okay.
Yes, there are eCash nodes, but they're actually Lightning nodes with eCash software.
You just transfer just a little bit of it on the Lightning.
Yeah, there we
So
go.
you don't keep all the money there.
There we go. You've stolen my point here. So one of the biggest cons with this is that we're trusting the mint, right? Why would I put all my money with a mint if he can just run away with it? So we need to be very, very aware of this. One more thing before I get to that quickly. The great thing about mints is that they handle Lightning channels. So I said Lightning was very, very difficult to do by yourself, or you have to rely on a custodian. The mint does the channel. So if you have somebody that isn't inside the park that wants to send you money, they can send a Lightning transaction, or you give them a receipt still. They can send you a Lightning transaction through the existing network, and the mint issues you those funds again. So, like you were saying, this is all hinging off of that mint being trustworthy. The mint here has your Bitcoin. You've got paper that says you're allowed to take your Bitcoin back, but if the mint runs away, that's it. Your money's gone. There's no way to get it back. So I think I've driven that point home enough. Like I said, this is very new still, but some providers that are doing this, Cashew, Macadamia, Nutstash, these are all new technologies that are actually being put out there. Oh yeah, actually the joke with this is that this all is like orientated around nuts. It's very funny. So I don't know why it caught on, it feels kind of childish, but I love it. So the Cashew protocol, eCash, nuts, and yeah. Macadamias, yeah, okay. So eCash pros and cons, super fast. All we're doing is just sending a bunch of text from one to another. It can go pretty much as fast as your internet or camera can. That's the only limitation. It's very convenient. It's excellent for onboarding, as you guys will hopefully see now. Currently, it's costless. It costs nothing to send transactions within the mint. So if you're in the theme park and you give someone a token, what did that cost you? Nothing, right? Sitting on the Lightning network does cost something, but within the theme park, it costs something.
Why does one cost something and the other cost nothing?
So the reason why is when you're on the Lightning network, you're passing beads through the nodes, right? And every time somebody does that, they're putting up capital effectively to facilitate the transaction. So they want to actually take a bit of a cut of it, in a sense. So that can happen in the Lightning Network. Right now, eCash costs nothing because the Mint doesn't charge for inside Mint transfers. They will eventually. Once this actually grows enough people use it, they'll take a small cut of that too. But right now, it's super, super cheap.
And the cut is Bitcoin itself, right?
Yeah, this is all denominated in Bitcoin, specifically sats. Yeah, exactly. So this is all denominated in Bitcoin, but just be aware when you're in Cashew, you don't actually have real Bitcoin. It's tricky, but you just need to be aware of it, but I think it's a very, very useful thing to use. And actually, that's one of the things I should have spoken about a little bit earlier. When you walk around with money in your pocket, do you expect that money to be really, really safe?
In Cayman, maybe, yes.
In Cayman, probably, yeah. But I mean, what's the chance of somebody just pickpockets and takes your wallet? Not impossible, right? Would you keep all your money in your wallet? No, why not? Because you just lose it all, right? Why do you keep any money in your wallet?
Convenient.
It's convenient. It's really nice just to have cash to give somebody, right? So each of us have our own needs, our own lives, and we need to weigh up how much do we want to have at risk, but also very conveniently accessible. That's what I think this can do for us. I'm making it sound like it's the boogeyman, like it really is going to run and take away your money. There are a lot of mitigations put in place, which makes this very, very public and very difficult to actually do, but it can happen. You can get robbed in the street. It can happen. It's unlikely, but it can happen. So you don't put all your money in there. But it is great to have some there for convenience sake. That's what this is really going to do. One other thing is that if the Mint does rob you, it can't rob you, it robs the whole theme park. Everyone loses their money, right? Really, really cool because this is nice and private. They can't like target you and say, I want your money. It takes everyone's money. There's no differentiation. Okay, so cons, you fully trust the Mint. You don't truly have Bitcoin. You have paper Bitcoin. You've got Bitcoin that isn't actually Bitcoin. You can get Bitcoin for it from the Mint, but it isn't actually Bitcoin. Okay, so one of the ways I like to try and think about this is that visually, how do you put these things together? The bedrock, Bitcoin, the base. Liquid kind of sits on top of that. You can interchange value between these two networks. Lightning sits on top of Bitcoin as well. Lightning can interchange value between those two networks. Liquid and Lightning can also facilitate transactions between each other. And on top of Lightning sits eCash. So you can think of like building a house, like a castle. Bitcoin is the truth, the bottom, the bedrock. That's what we all talk about mostly. But what we're trying to do as well is put these other puzzle pieces on top so as not to collapse completely. But it's really nice to have walls and a roof sometime, right? We don't want just foundation to sleep upon. So this is a nice visual representation of what's actually going on over here. Our base, where we want to save all of our money. We then have Lightning and Liquid up on top, which have different trade-offs, are easier to utilize perhaps. You aren't necessarily as safe, but you get more benefits for it. It's like a checking account almost. You've got like a savings account, checkings account, and then your wallet, eCash. That's the idea behind it. I don't know whether it's actually the truth. It's something that we have to develop and change over time. This is all so new still. This is currently my idea of it.
Was Liquid Bitcoin and Lightning around when Bitcoin became?
Bitcoin was first. So once people started to understand it and use it and test it, they developed these separate protocols to work with it, essentially. So they may have wanted to say, I think specifically in Liquid's case, Adam Back is the gentleman's name, which I think was the main driver of it. He wanted to try and make main Bitcoin transactions private. Currently, if I go into the Bitcoin blockchain, I can see one address send an amount to another address. All the information's there, but he wanted to try and make the amount private. But he couldn't get that through because Bitcoin is hard to change by its nature. People didn't agree with him completely. So he actually, I think, was part or led the team to actually make the sidechain to kind of do a proof of concept and to have the option for people to do that too. It's actually almost a copy-paste of the code from Bitcoin. I think it's very, very close, but it's got more bells and whistles. So yeah.
So the miners that to be eventually are all okay to change the system, right?
Miners, nodes, developers, users, there are so many things that need to fall into place for a change to happen. That's why Bitcoin's so hard to change, but you're right. That's what makes it so secure.
If someone accepts Lightning, but I have eCash, so does that transaction work or no?
It actually does, yes. So if you have eCash and you want to send Lightning to me, you can send the eCash to a mint. The mint sends Lightning to me. Settled.
And same way other way around. If I have Lightning app and you have the eCash.
And you want to pay me, you can pay, I'll give you an address, you pay the address, you technically pay the mint gives me eCash. It's really convenient, it's really nice, because that means that you can transact between other theme parks, right? And other people using Lightning. Super convenient.
So I just want to take you back one slide, and I wonder if there are any parallels or analogies that you can make between the financial system that we've got.
Aha.
Are you going to come to that?
No, I didn't actually get into that properly, but it's a really good point. I think the bedrock of all these transactions is Fedwire, correct me if I'm wrong. So most of us actually don't know what it is. And I think as this technology develops a lot as well, most of us won't use the Bitcoin main chain. Fedwire is an international settlement means between central banks around the world, so far as I understand. We don't use that. Central banks do, right? We don't really know how it works. We don't really care how it works. They just do massive international settlements of billions and trillions of dollars, I'm certain. That you can think of as a base layer. Then within a country, you've got a central bank. You've got the smaller banks below. They probably use another system. I think it's Swift then, right? Yeah. Something like Swift. Yeah. So that could then be a layer above Fedwire. Above that, they'll have, I don't know, bank transfers of some sort. Above that, you may have your credit card companies. Above that, you'll have like interbank transfers, and you keep building on and on and on. There's a very nice book about this called Layered Money, which I haven't actually read yet, but I've heard it's good. The same thing's happening over here. We're just really, really far at the start, right? Like, this is complicated stuff. But yeah, this exists today. When I give somebody $10, that's like, in cash, that is really, really high up on the chain. This is made to be easy for people to use, and we're trying to develop that now ourselves.
So at some point, that cash that you spend would be settled on the Fedwire?
Theoretically, yes. I mean, practically no, but theoretically, yes. That effectively has a knock-on down. And for us to transacting right now, or a better example really is if you're in the shop and like you're paying with credit card, I mean, you don't really care what happens in the background. You just see the payments gone off. Shop hardly cares. They care a little bit more probably. But in the background, banks are settling. If you're from another country, you've got massive transactions happening over Fedwire. This is all very much happening, yeah. All without much of our knowledge.
The same with those, an eCash transaction is ultimately settled on the Bitcoin layer.
Technically, yeah. I mean, you can, of course, bounce in between as much as you can, as much as you want. But like, let's say, don't do this is stupid, but if I wanted to pay you, what's the best way to do this? Yeah, technically, if I pay you $100 through eCash, your Lightning node has now received those funds, and if you ever need to balance your channels, so those beads that we were talking about, actually like reassign beads, you set on the main chain to do that. That's effectively the movement that you've made to do that. I hope that answered the question. Cool. So that's a nice visual layout. Okay, I don't know if this might be too much. I wanted to try and also think about these layers and when you should use them. There's a very, very important distinction between convenience, custody, and security. So, I don't know, I'm looking forward to getting your opinion on this. On our x-axis, custody. Left-hand side, it's somebody else's. Somebody else controls it. On the right-hand side, it's all yours. There's kind of a gray area in between. There are things like the Federation, the Liquid Federation, where somebody else, 12 people control that money, but it's really hard for those 12 people to actually all steal your money. At least one or two of them are going to, 12, 16. One or two of them are going to probably be truthful, in which case the thing won't happen. So you kind of have these spectrums almost of custody. Things not completely yours, but it's also not completely not yours. You then have convenience. One of the most important ones, I think. Technically, at least practically, how I find things work out is the more convenient something is, the more insecure it is. That's a day-to-day thing, right? If it's convenient, it probably isn't very secure. If it's super inconvenient, it's probably quite secure. That's kind of the idea I'm going for over here. Bitcoin fits over there. Completely yours, pretty much as inconvenient as you can get. I'm being a bit blunt. There are fantastic wallet apps and technologies that are making this much, much easier, much more convenient to use. You and I can use it, but it is inconvenient by nature because it's trying to be secure. Okay, that's what it's doing. It must stay there. That's where it's meant to be.
The Tangem wallet.
Say again?
There is called Tangem.
Tangem. I don't know it.
Card. I'll show you later.
Cool, yeah. Yeah, again, we're talking about the layers, the protocols themselves. Lightning over here is a bit more convenient, at least it can be once you set it up. And I've just moved it slightly to the left because there are technicalities to it, but it's very much still mostly yours and somewhat inconvenient to use. Liquid sits about in the middle, I'm going to say. This is all quite subjective as well, so you guys can actually make up your own decisions, but this is how I'm trying to convey this, and you must make up your own minds. It is a bit more convenient than Bitcoin. It's more private by default. And we need to be aware, though, that its custody, it's not completely yours, it's not completely someone else's. eCash, right over there. It's very much somebody else's, but it is highly convenient. There are pros and cons to this, right? Something like Coinbase, if you were to keep your funds on an exchange, would probably be over there as well. I'd say Coinbase is much less convenient because you have to give them your ID and email address and shoe size and all that. So I've kind of thought about it, and it makes like this channel. On the right-hand side, if something is really convenient and it's all really yours, is it really secure? If you can like access your funds so easily, imagine like all your savings, if it's super convenient to use and spend it, and it is actually all yours, is it actually secure? Things don't typically exist here. And if something is someone else's and it's really inconvenient, what's the point? Not much point in it, right? So there's this channel that kind of forms between convenience and custody. And when we're thinking about our money, at least in Bitcoin terms, you've got to decide what to put in your wallet and what to put in your savings account. And what I like to think of is that this is the prioritization of convenience. This is spending cash, anything over here. This middle ground is something like a transactional account, much easier to use, not quite as safe as savings. This is a prioritized security. This is a savings account. The Lightning one, I really struggle to actually put where it needs to be because it is part of convenience as well. It depends on how exactly you do it. But this is an idea. We always need to change. You need to evaluate what you want to hold yourself, how convenient it is, and figure out how much you must put into it. I don't know. That's an idea I had to visualize kind of what I was always thinking about.
Why isn't there another light kind of liquid Bitcoin?
There are. I just didn't talk about them.
Okay,
There's so many.
Okay.
There are lots of different things that they can move anywhere, left, right, up, down on this chart. And yeah, there are just too many of them.
Fair enough.
I'll just focus on the main ones.
Yeah.
Like how big is that market of layers, Bitcoin layers?
As big as Bitcoin is. If you can provide somebody a secure way to easily transfer funds, what's the limit? But I mean, you've got to be very cautious, right? Like if you make it very easy but tell people it's theirs, people should be suspicious, right?
And you could put like traditional asset classes on
Yeah.
channel as well, right?
Yeah, my cash is going up in the top left corner. Well, that's actually a little bit tricky. See, cash isn't really yours, I guess, if we think about money in the general sense. But it's super convenient.
Gold would be where Bitcoin is, right?
Yeah.
But not very secure unless it's in a bank vault.
Yeah, you got to like really lock it down, not in your back garden.
Gold in your wallet might be where Bitcoin is.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like how I like to think of it. But this again, is all dependent on you. You can say you hate Liquid, you don't want to use it, don't use it then. You're not required to. The only thing this is all based off of is Bitcoin, which is the foundation, like I said. Okay, I think I've bored you guys enough. Time to try something. Yeah. So, if everyone can, see if you can scan this QR code. It's going to take you to a website. When everyone's sort of there, don't push any buttons just yet, but let me know. I'm going to see if I can try and set up my phone too. I hope everyone's able to scan it.
The ones that are pegged, I don't know which ones they are. I mean, can they go and do something like Phantom and rug pull and disappear overnight?
The short answer is yes, if those 16 people, 16 very public, very vetted entities take it all. It'll be massive news if that happens. It can happen, but it's very, very unlikely.
Yeah, because they could change the dials and do something weird, and then they can say, oh, it's mine, and wander off.
So luckily, everything that's spoken about over here is a lot slower than any other Web3 thing.
Okay.
This is much, much more static and, solid. Okay, everyone there?
No.
Okay, cool. That's okay. It's luckily very straightforward, but I'm going to go through the points nonetheless. So what we're going to use is we're going to use a type of wallet that uses eCash. So this is the one where we're all inside Disneyland now, right? We're going to use the tokens of Disneyland instead of the Lightning Network and the actual dollars on the outside. This is going to take you to a website. It's going to ask you a whole bunch of prompts and things. We're going to skip most of that. So, yeah, okay, so we're going to go, you're going to first see this over here, right? Say next. Okay. It's going to ask you to install a PWA. This is a progressive web app. It just allows you to install it like an app on your phone without going through the App Store. Ignore it for now. It's next. Okay, it's going to show you a seed phrase. Ignore it.
Not this again.
Don't worry. We're going to completely ignore it for now because none of you are going to keep this money. Don't worry. We're going to swipe all the way down to the bottom. You're going to say, yes, I've written it down. You're going to hit next. Okay, you're going to then click I agree to the terms and you're going to hit next. I think this is all just legal stuff. And you should end up at this page.
This makes me want to read it.
Yeah. Everyone make it here?
Yep.
No, it won't go past the phrase page.
So the phrase page.
The seed phrase.
Oh, the seed phrase. So you scroll to the bottom, there should be a button you need to click.
Sorry.
So if you scroll to the bottom,
Yes.
there should be a button, sorry, like a check mark you need to click over here.
Okay, so the seed phrase is like a whole bunch of words.
It's a unique way to retrieve your funds should you ever lose your phone. Yeah, I won't talk about that right now, but yeah. Everyone good?
Yep.
Okay, I am now. Okay, so yeah, I think what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and have us pass 100 sats around the room. Every single person's going to receive it and send it on to the next person. Okay, so you're all going to see this page. When you want to receive the sats, I want you to click on this button over here in the middle. Okay, but now I just have to get my phone working. Give me just 2 seconds. That didn't work. Oh well. Yeah, you guys can see my screen, whatever. Okay, we're looking for this. So now this is a nifty little app that will allow me to share my screen on the computer.
So what's a mint? So it's like a bank?
You can think of it like a bank, yeah.
It's like a bank.
The mint is the thing that you're
It's spelled
trusting.
like a bank as well.
All right. So you guys can all see my phone now? No, you can't. That's fantastic. Here we go.
So who's behind eCash?
It was developed by a gentleman named Kelly, and he made it completely open source, so anybody can use it, change it. Okay, so you should all see something like this, except with no numbers there. Okay, now,
Wait,
We're gonna
what were we supposed to click? Admin?
no, don't click anything. You should technically see, you should see the admin option, right? You should see this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone can see that. Okay, don't click admin or anything. Okay, now, I'm going to ask you to hit that middle button, right? This one over here in the middle. I can't show it here.
Yeah.
Okay. You're probably going to ask you to allow to scan the camera. Say allow. Yeah.
No coffee.
No coffee. So there's a QR code currently showing. She's going to scan it with her phone.
Why does it change all the time?
So it's actually got a lot of information in it.
Okay.
It's showing you multiple
So
codes.
to receive 100 sats.
Hit receive.
Okay.
Give it a big green symbol.
Yeah.
Do you have 100 sats there?
Yeah.
100 sats. Okay, now what I want you to do is send it to him. So hit the send button and select eCash and then type 100. And once you say send, you're going to hit that middle button.
Right. And then I can.
There we go. And you're going to scan that again.
Yeah.
And I mean, this might take some time.
90%.
Yeah, it's just trying to get that last little bit. It's probably like a reflection somewhere it's seeing. There we go.
Okay.
You can hit receive.
All right.
And once he's received it, you would have lost it.
I got nothing.
Gone. Okay, pass it on to the next person.
Okay.
Let's make a loop.
All right.
Then you go
So
all around
eCash.
it.
Yeah, go that way. I'll give it some more over here so we can make it a bit faster.
So, you ready?
Okay, so you ready to receive?
Yes. So I need to do this, right?
Yeah, so you're going to hit that button over there. You're going to open up this up. And you're going to hold that there and wait for it to scan fully and hit receive.
So this one, right?
Yeah, so there's a receive button there.
Okay.
And there we go. That's yours.
That's good.
So you've now got 100 sats. It's about 10 cents. Okay, send it on to the next person. So hit send
Send.
and say eCash
eCash.
and type 100. Maybe hit, yeah, hit there.
Okay.
And then say send.
It seems less
There we go.
than,
How's it working?
it's all like,
99%, keep scanning.
I don't know.
I think it's, maybe hold your phone a little bit further away. Typically it doesn't actually need that much space.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. And how
So once you receive, you'll see yours will immediately go away.
the trust and everything.
I think my send button is not working.
Sorry, your?
I think my send button is not working.
Your send button's not working. I don't believe you.
Easy go.
Yeah.
You lost it now. You lost it now.
And it'll leave me, and I got a 0.
Look at you, you're very quick. Very quick.
That is
It's pretty cool, I must say.
I don't know what I did, but I managed to break the screen.
Yeah. I'm gonna take both.
Like load money, like I've had money off, like my actual bank account. Like
Hmm. How do you get from that to this?
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do currently in Cayman because banks don't want us to do that.
Right.
That's the problem. The easiest way to actually do it right now is to get some cash, come to someone like me or anybody else here and say, can you give me $100 worth?
Right.
Done. That's as easy as it can be. If you actually want to use this properly, you need to get accounts sorted at KYC places. It's terrible. It's really inconvenient, and it's terrible. But the easy way to do it right now is cash.
Right.
It's, a pain. They haven't made it easy, but we'll keep fighting.
Okay.
We're having
It's hard to put the cash into the phone though.
Yeah. Is this going to work now? There we go. Okay, so that's eCash. Where's the money? You got all of it. Oh my word. Yeah, it's like 20 cents.
And do you also get option to move it directly to Bitcoin chain from eCash?
So technically, yes. Practically, no. The reason why is that to go on chain, say again? Well, you have the bridge, everything's there, but that amount there is too small.
So not that amount. Let's say
If you have more.
business and you have collected a lot of eCash,
Yeah.
now you want to move it to main chain, you can do that.
Very much. Very much, yeah. That's the beauty of this. You can deal with this like normal cash and then just save it whenever you want to. It's fantastic. I really like it. But, again, warning, huh?
Is eCash the same as holding Bitcoin?
No, because it's paper Bitcoin, right? That 200 sats over there right now, the 6,000 sats I have on my phone right now, the mint I'm using has that Bitcoin. I have just the eCash that represents that. It's like back in the day we used to have the dollar is linked to gold, right?
Yeah.
The dollar represented gold.
Yeah.
Not anymore. That's what this dispute is. Yeah. So the sats are tied. The sats are sats. It's all sort of the same. It's called the same thing. It's like having gold-denominated paper notes. It's all the same thing, but it's tied to that. But the link can be broken if your mint betrays you.
So the value of the I'm not going to use fiat. The value of those 200.
It's the same.
So it's 0.20. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's exactly the same thing. Yeah,
20
yeah,
cents. Okay.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
cool.
Can I send this back to you?
Yes, actually, I was going to try and hold on. So there's a very, very nifty thing. This stuff, like I said, is going so fast that there's actually a way you can send it to me without even me having to scan it. If this is working, kind of. 2 seconds. All right, now you've got the money in your phone, all of it. Okay, so hit that middle button with a camera, and I want you to scan this.
The little square.
Yeah,
Okay, so come back.
if you can see that, it might be a bit small.
You know I got no stats. What happened?
Yeah. Okay, don't worry, we'll have a look at it a little bit later. Alrighty, and that's pretty much it.
Does it stay there? Does it disappear?
It's there if you still have the seed. But I mean, you've done it that right as well.
So that could be lost Bitcoin right there.
That could be lost. Well, it actually isn't. It's lost paper.
Ah.
It's like losing the dollar note, but the gold's still in the bank.
But eventually the mint is going to be like, that's out there missing and I still got to transact, right? So when they make that transaction, at some point they have to decide to burn that, right?
Technically, they should never. It just sit there. The mint would just accumulate these funds that are supposedly lost. And I guess someday in the future, they could try and do something with it. Things that have moved.
Money they are lost already. Just staying there.
Yeah, but it's hard for them to know. They can't see whether it's lost or whether it's just not being used.
Right, they wouldn't know.
So how do we make this simple enough for my mum to be able to use it?
Tap.
Layer 10.
Got to tap. Yeah. So the eCash is fantastic because it can actually work with one party offline. The sender can be offline, or the receiver can be offline, but it can't work with when you're both offline, which is a really, really nice next step. But
Does that
You see that?
does that mean that the eCash is
it's local. Yeah, because it's a token, right? It's a physical thing. It's like secret letters and stuff. It's local. Now, that's a really good question because you can copy local things, right?
Yeah.
Don't you just have more of it?
Yeah.
So this is where the mint comes in. This is slightly more technical, but the mint verifies you obeying the rules.
So it verifies whether
Yeah.
that identifier is.
That's why we have to trust it. Yeah, yeah.
Whatever copies are is like, okay, well, you only have one.
I don't know if you can see that anymore. Nah, my phone's not working with me tonight. Yeah,
Did it go?
I have no idea. I think my QR code kind of disappeared there.
Is it going to be a microcurrency? Because we're not all going to start thinking in 0.68 Bitcoin and then add a service charge to that. That'd take me all night.
No. So the easiest thing to do is to deal in sats, like we're talking about now.
Okay.
You say 1,000 sats.
Okay.
It's like saying 100 cents versus just $1. They're the same denominators in Bitcoin that we can use. We just typically talk in Bitcoin because that's what everyone knows and it's still really new, right?
Okay.
Sats is a small number. It's like saying cents instead of dollars.
So sats are to the right of the decimal, big ones to the left.
Yeah, so there are 100,000 sats in a Bitcoin. That's the exact denomination. 100 million?
100 million.
100 million, sorry. 100 million sats in a Bitcoin. That's the correlation between the two. So if you have 100 million sats, you have one Bitcoin.
Ah.
So it's just cents and dollars, right?
It's like the gold powder.
Cool, that's it, everyone. I hope that was informative. I think that there was a little bit, maybe too much information in the middle, but it was a useful demonstration at the end. You sent Bitcoin. Well done. All right, cool. Thanks, everyone. That's it.